Welcome to Microsoft Power BI Basics and Beyond. I'm Jason Bursack, a productivity trainer for IT Showcase at Microsoft. Power BI is a suite of business analytics tools that help you create and share actionable, intuitive reports for business insights. Today, I'll show you how you can put your data to work with Power BI. We'll go through the basics, data visualization, and dashboards. We'll go through how to create and modify data visualizations, join data from multiple sources, and build a dashboard to share with colleagues. So what we're going to cover today, part 1 will be getting started using it. Part 2 we'll talk about joining data from multiple sources. Part 3 we'll talk about building and sharing a dashboard, and we'll also have a demo. So part 1, getting started. In this section, we'll learn how to install the application. We'll talk about importing data from Excel to Power BI. We'll create and modify simple visualization, and we will save our report and publish to the Power BI service. So now let's talk about installing the desktop application. First, you'll want to go to http://app.powerbi.com. Here you'll sign in with your credentials. You'll run a simple wizard to install the application. You'll look for the download icon. It's an arrow pointing down with a line underneath it. Run that wizard and Power BI will be ready to launch. It will automatically launch the first time that you run it. When you run it, you'll get this start screen. It's black and yellow, and you'll have access to forums, the Power BI blog, various tutorials, as well as some videos that you can watch. You can also access the Get Data functionality here from this screen. If you decide that you never want to see it again, you'll notice a checkbox in the lower yellow part of the screen that says Show this page on startup. Simply uncheck that box and you won't see it again when you run the application. So next up, you'll want to install some data. After you've installed the application, you're going to go to the Get Data button and you'll be able to pull in data depending on what you're using. You may be using data from Excel, like I'll be doing in the demo here, or you may be using data from, for example, a SQL Server database or an Access database. The options you have for pulling in data are a plethora. There's a lot available. We'll be sticking with Excel for the demo, but keep in mind that you can pull data from a lot of different places. So after you have selected what data you're going to use, you'll be given the option then in the Navigator window to select exactly what you want to pull in. You'll check mark a box. For example, right here we have this PRJ budgets box checked. You will see then a preview of the data that you'll be loading in, and you'll have the option to load the data or to edit the data in the query editor. You'll probably want to edit the data in the query editor just to make sure that you pull in exactly what you want. Once you have pulled in the data that you want to, you'll see that data appear as a fields list on the right-hand side of the application. As you can see here in this sample data, we have budget, business team, delivery date, but whatever you've pulled in will appear in the fields list, and you'll be able to use the data in that fields list to create your visualizations. So let's start here by creating a simple visualization. This is a very simple visualization. It's simply a column chart with one number, so it's one column right here. It's this budget field that we pulled in. Drag whatever field you want from your data on and make a visualization, and you'll see that you have a variety of charts available there in the visualization box, and you'll be able to make modifications to it. Like I said, this right here is a bar chart, but you'll be able to make pie charts, column charts, line charts, and a variety of other visualizations in Power BI. A variety of modifications are available for visualizations. Right here we've highlighted where you can click on the lower right-hand corner of a visualization and drag it to make the visualization bigger or smaller. For example, you might want to make it smaller because maybe you want to put more than one visualization on the canvas there. Or you maybe want to make it large to take up the entire canvas. So you can drag around the corners of your visualization to make it the size that you want. The format that Power BI saves reports as is the .pbix file. This is not the best way to share a report, but it's the best way to save your work if you're in the middle of something. So you can go ahead and save your report as a .pbix on your machine or on your OneDrive, maybe your OneDrive for Business or a SharePoint Online site, wherever you're saving it. And so that way you'll be able to pick up later if you're in the middle of building a Power BI report. Now, if you do want to share your results with someone, the best way to do that is to publish to the Power BI service. And you'll be able to do that using the Publish button that's in the ribbon. And that button is on the Home tab on the furthest right, as you can see on the slide there. And then when the publishing is complete, you'll be given a link that you can click in order to go see your report on the Power BI site. And you probably want to do that just to make sure it looks as you want it to. So this is the PowerBI.com interface. The PowerBI.com interface is, it gets changed from time to time. It is a cloud service, and when new features come, you may see things in slightly different places. For example, the search bar here, I believe, is in a slightly different place now. But the gist of it is what we want, and you'll be able to use that search bar once you've published a lot of reports and have a lot of data sets available on your workspace. You'll be able to find them easily using the search bar, or you can use the functionality to find your recent reports as well. And then you'll be able to manipulate and share them using the PowerBI.com interface. We're now going to go into part 2, which is using multiple sets of data and joining them together. In this section, we'll talk about adding data from other sources, joining the data from the multiple sources, creating more interactive visualizations, as well as updating that published data on the PowerBI.com web service. So here we go with getting additional data. Now, to get additional data, you do that the same way you got your first data. It really isn't any different. You just already have some data you're working with. You'll go to the Get Data button, you'll push it, and in our demo, we'll be using Excel. But remember, you can pull data from a variety of sources. It's also good to keep in mind they don't all have to be from the same source. You could be using some data from an Excel spreadsheet, some data from, for example, a SQL Server query, or from another database query, and you can pull them all together in Power BI, create relationships, and manipulate that data and create some great visualizations. Right here, just as you did before, you'll select the data that you want to load. And you probably will want to edit your query before loading it, just like you did before. Whenever you're loading queries, you want to make sure that you have the data that you want and that it's in the form that you want it in before you pull it in. So Power BI will load the data that you have selected, and there may be relationships in that data. For example, here we have some actuals and some budget information that we're loading as sample data, but you may have two different tables that you're pulling, and they both have a month column, for example. And Power BI is usually smart enough to detect that relationship and join the data together. If it did not auto-detect your relationship, you'll be able to manually create it. I want to introduce here the Modeling tab. It's right next to the Home tab. And with the Modeling tab, what you can do is change some things with the format of your data. You might want to, for example, sort in a different way than Power BI has already sorted your data. You might want to change the format. If there's a number you want to change to a currency, for example, or maybe you've accidentally formatted some numbers as text and then import it, and you notice that you can't do any math. Because of course you can't do math with text. And your problem then is that it's formatted as text. You can easily go here into the Modeling tab and change the format of that data over to the number format. So now that you've pulled in data from multiple sources, you want to create some new visualizations. Well, keep in mind that the Canvas view, that's what we've highlighted here on the slide. That's the top of the three views that you see there. On top you've got the Canvas view. Below that is the Modeling tab that we just talked about. And then there's also the Relationship view that we'll be talking about as well and demoing. You'll be able to create visualizations using all of the sources of your data. For example, on this slide here, we've got our PRJ actuals and our PRJ budgets. And whatever you're using, you'll be able to create visualizations with all of your data combined. And that's one of the really powerful aspects of Power BI. As you create visualizations with your multiple data sources, you'll be able to modify those just like you did before. You can use the handlebars on the visualizations to drag and drop the corners around, make them larger, smaller, fit how you want. Also keep in mind that you can have more than one Canvas page. You certainly don't need to cram all of your visualizations onto one Canvas page. If you've used Excel before, it's kind of like making a new sheet. You'll see on the bottom of the page there's a little plus sign, and you'll be able to create a second or third or fourth Canvas page and add more visualizations into that same report using multiple Canvas pages. So right here you can see we've dragged information about the budget and the actuals onto our screen here and made a couple of visualizations with Power BI. And right here what I want to highlight is that you can change the colors on your report to highlight certain things. For example, right here we've added some black to the columns, and Power BI actually gives you really strong granular control over what your charts look like. For example, in a pie chart, you'd even have the granular control to change the color of one slice of pie. So you really have a strong control over how you make your visualizations look here. Right here we're introducing the concept of cross-filtering. This is only possible with those relationships that we talked about earlier. You'll see that we've clicked on, right here, a column on the top visualization called Cloud Transition, and that in the bottom visualization is highlighted some data down there in the business continuity team. And that shows off that data is related. You'll see that the other teams don't have any cloud transition data. So this is how relationships work. You'll be able to click on data on one visualization to highlight data on another visualization, and that's called cross-filtering. Now that you're done pulling in data from multiple sources, you're probably ready to publish. Now, whether you're publishing for the first time or publishing again, it's just as easy. You simply go click on the Publish button that's on the Home tab. Now, if it's your first time publishing, simply just publish it and then click on the link and go take a look at it. If it's your second time publishing, you'll be given a choice. You're going to either say overwrite a previous publication, or you're going to rename it and publish it as something else. Once again, you'll get this wizard opening up, giving you the option to go view your published report. You'll go to the powerbi.com interface and view it there. We're moving into part 3 now, which is the creation of and sharing of dashboards. In this section, we'll talk about creating a dashboard. We'll talk about pinning visualizations to that dashboard. We'll talk about modifying a dashboard, and we'll talk about sharing a dashboard with your colleagues or customers or business partners. So you might be asking the question to yourself, exactly what is a dashboard? You probably kind of know what it is, but exactly what is it? And at this point, it might be useful to make a distinguishing characteristic between data sources, reports, and dashboards. Now, we all know what our data sources are. Those are our Excel spreadsheets or our SQL Server queries or our other database queries where we've pulled in numbers and text and other types of data. And then we built a report using Power BI where we created visualizations of that data. Now, a dashboard really is just a type of report. What it is visualizations from other Power BI reports pinned to one specific place that can be updated in real time so that your business partners or your business decision makers, your customers, your colleagues can look at that dashboard and instantly have the information they need to make business decisions. How do you create a dashboard? The easiest way to create a dashboard is to simply click on the pin icon, which you'll see on your visualization, and it will give you then the option to create a dashboard. You'll also see, as we show on the screen here, there'll be a plus sign next to the word dashboards in the Power BI interface. You can create a new dashboard there too. Once you've created that dashboard, you can continue to pin visualizations to it. Here we go. There's that pin icon there, and you'll be able to click that and attach visualizations to your dashboard. Once you've done that, you'll be able to move them around, make it look how you want it to look, and eventually, of course, share out that dashboard with whoever needs to see it. This just shows you right here. You click that pin icon. It will ask you which dashboard you want to pin it to. Do you want to pin it to an existing dashboard or a new dashboard? If you do decide at some point that you need a new one, go ahead and select that. If you're building one dashboard at a time, you're probably going to be sticking with your existing dashboard for a few visualizations at least. You can view your new dashboard with your visualizations. Of course, you want to look at it before you share it just to make sure that it looks how you want. Go ahead and click share and send it to your colleagues. You can modify your dashboard at any time. You will be able to click on the corners of your visualizations and make them larger or smaller, just like you could with the canvas. Now, you won't have quite the degree of freedom you did with the canvas, though. There are certain size settings for these visualizations. They can be so big or they can be so big, but you can't choose exactly how big you want them like you could in the canvas when you're in the web view. The predefined sizes is what they're called. When you're finally ready to share your dashboard, go ahead and click the sharing icon, and then you'll type the names or email addresses of the people you want to share it with. If you're dealing with a circumstance where you've got an internal, global address list, you'll be able to simply type names from that. Or if you're sharing externally, you may need to use email addresses, and you'll type those in. Go ahead and click share. You'll notice you have some options here. You can allow the recipients also to share your dashboard. And generally, you do want to send an email notification when you share something with them so that they'll know that it's shared with them and they'll be able to go access it. That's an option you can check as well. You can also share your dashboard once again by simply copying and pasting the URL. Once you've clicked that share button and added the person's email address or their name and shared it with them, let's say they lose the link, or let's say they forget about it and they need a reminder of where it is. You don't need to go through that process all over again. You'll actually just be able to copy and paste the URL and send it to them. Okay, now we'll be going into a demo. Okay, so we're going to do a demo for Power BI, and we're going to start by showing you how to download the application. We'll just go to app.powerbi.com, and this will take you to your organizations site. You'll have to sign in, and you'll sign in using your own organizational credentials. And you're going to look for the download arrow. It's just an arrow that points down with a little line underneath it. You go ahead and click that, and you'll select Power BI Desktop. I actually won't go through and install it on this machine as I've already got it, but what you want to do is click Run, and a simple wizard will open up, and you basically just click Next several times, and you will install the application on your machine. Okay? So I'll just go ahead and minimize this, and this is Power BI Desktop opened up. And when you start it, you're going to get this bumblebee colored start screen here with this area over here for getting data, or if you want to open up a report that you've recently been working on. Over here, you'll be able to see what's new. You'll be able to go to the Power BI forums here, visit the Power BI blog, check out tutorials. There's several tutorial videos as well that you could look at if you want to. If you decide that you never want to see this screen again, go ahead and uncheck this box, and this startup screen will no longer show then when you open up the application. We'll go ahead and close this. And right here, this is the Power BI desktop application. I am going to start by pulling in some data because Power BI is not very useless if you have no data, so we'll go ahead and pull some in. Before I pull in my Excel sheets that I'm going to use for this demo, I want to briefly show you the wide variety of options you have for pulling in data. I'm just going to go down here and click More just to show you the full list of options you have. We start with Excel. A lot of data, of course, is just in text or CSV format, maybe XML, maybe a SQL Server, maybe a wide variety of other databases, maybe Azure, Dynamics, Facebook. You can see that there's a lot of options here for pulling in data. I'll just cancel out of that. I'm going to pull in some data from Excel. Let's go to my OneDrive for Business here. I've got some data sources. The first thing that I'm going to pull in is this some report of IT trainings. And I'll just click Open here. And the preview of the data we can access by checking this box. And I see there's a session with the name of the session, the name of the presenter, the date, the month, the time, and then some metrics here that we have recorded. And I'll go ahead and we want to edit this query probably just because it's usually a good idea to make sure you've got what you want. but it all looks good. I mean, all the columns are named right. We have everything we want. It's called, whenever you're importing data, you want to make sure your columns reflect what is displayed. You want to make sure that the table name is correct, and it all looks good. So I'm just going to close and apply and drop this right in. And you'll see then in the fields list to the far right here, you'll see that this data set has appeared, as well as all of these fields associated with columns with the data set. I want to pull in multiple sources of data for this demo. So let's go get some more. And once again, I'll pull in an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to pull in some demographics data here. Just pull in this in, and this one we're going to have to do some work on. You'll notice, for starters, it's just called Sheet 1, and that's not a good best practice. You want, whenever you're manipulating data, you want everything to be named precisely. You don't want to have column 1, column 2, column 3, etc. That's not precise. It doesn't reflect at all what's shown in the column, so we'll be sure to edit this query before pulling it in. I also don't need most of this data. What I'm concerned with this demographic is where people are coming from. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep the last name column here, and I'm also, I don't care what language they speak or any of these other random numbers we've got here. I'm just going to control click, and you can shift click too, by the way. Like if I shift click, I'm going to select columns like this, and if I control click, it's the standard shift versus control. And if I click control and select the 2 columns that I want, what I'll do is I'll go up here to remove columns. Now, if I remove other columns, that's what I want. I want to get rid of everything I select. But if I remove columns, that's going to remove the ones that I've selected, which is not good because those are the 2 that I want. So I'm going to remove other columns. Now, there's still some problems with this data, but we're getting very close to what we need. We just need to make some quick fixes. I need to change column 2. I'm just going to right-click it, and I'm going to call it names, because that's what it is. And then column 4, I'm going to select it and right-click and rename it to location. And now I have a list of names and the location they came from. I also don't want to call this Sheet 1, because if all you see is Sheet 1, you have no idea what that sheet is about. We want to call it demographics. All right, this looks good. Let's close and apply and bring it in. And now, as you can see, I've got my consolidated sessions data and my demographics data. I can collapse and expand using the little carets here. All right, and I'm going to pull in some more data here, and then we're going to manipulate the data and make some exciting visualizations. This is just a little sheet that I made for sorting purposes, and it just sorts data via the Microsoft fiscal month is all it does. As you can see here, I've got 8 months of data, and it's just going to sort it. July is the first month of the Microsoft fiscal month, and then February is the 8th month. And that's all we really need. There's only one thing wrong with it. It's called Table 1. But just to show you how you can actually fix that even after you've loaded it, let me just load it without fixing the mistake. As you can see, I've got the key, which is just an ordering column, and the month. And I'm just going to right-click this guy and rename it to MS Fiscal. Okay? All right, so now I've got some data, and I'm going to make some visualizations. So let me introduce you to the Canvas view right here, which is right here. This is the Canvas view. It's called Report. This is the Data view right here. And as you can see, you kind of get an idea of what the data looks like. If you were to look at it in Excel, you'd have access to all the Excel features. With this, you've got access to a Home tab and a Modeling tab. You can do some things with the data here. And right here is the relationships. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But let's just make some visualizations. I'm going to start with some really very basic things. I'm going to create a text box. And in that text box, I'm simply going to type base stats. And actually, I want to make that bigger. So let's just make that 44. There we go. Okay, base stats. Maybe I want to bold it. So I can manipulate this text, and I can add some descriptive text to my canvas. I want to add an image. I can do that. I can pull in an image from my PC or from my OneDrive or wherever I want to pull one from. And let's get to the good stuff here. Let's throw some data onto this visualization. So maybe we want to have an average presenter score for all of these IT sessions. So I'm just going to drag this presenter score, and you'll see there's a sum sign in front of it, and we're going to want to do something about that. The default here, and oftentimes the default visualization will not be the one you want. The default is to take a summation of all the presenter scores and put it in column chart form. This isn't how we want it. For one thing, I'm interested in average presenter score. The sum of the presenter scores are useless. It'd be like taking, a college class and summing all the test scores, and then, what does that even mean anymore? So we'll go to average, and so we see an average of 8.56 out of 9, which is quite good. And then, maybe you want to display it as a column, or it's just one number. Maybe you just want to display this as maybe you just want to display this as a card. I just demonstrated a popular mistake people make with Power BI. You don't select the visualization, and then you go over here to change it, and you make a new one. Okay, you have to make sure you're selecting the visualization you want before you change it. So I'm going to go ahead and click this here, and now I have just a card showing me the number with the average presenter score. So that's some basic stats here. Let's get mildly more advanced. We'll get something more visual with maybe multiple fields here. These sessions added productivity minutes to people's day. So, how many minutes? We've got some people said they added 0 minutes to their day. Some people 1 through 4. And notice how I can just drag and drop these fields. Some people said 5 through 10, and some people said 10 plus. So here we go. This is a nice little representation, a visual representation. You'll see it's interactive. I can hover over it. And at this point you want to ask yourself, is a column chart the best way to represent this data? And the answer is no, probably not. It's a summation of a whole with different categories, and what's the chart that strikes you as the best way to do that? Well, probably it's the pie chart, right? So we'll go over here to the pie chart, and once again, we have it selected. We're going to change it. We don't want to make a new pie chart. I'm going to make a pie chart here. So this is a great way to show you this data. Now, let me just take a brief foray from number crunching just to show you some other ways that I can make this canvas look good. And we're going to do that with the paint roller. So I'm just going to click on the canvas in general. Then I'm going to go over here and click on the paint roller. And I've got these different things I can modify. I can name the page. Maybe I want to call this page base stats. And I could rename that down there right here too if I wanted to. Maybe I want to change the size of the page. I like the size of this page. I'm not going to change it, but this is where you could change it if you want to. Page background. Maybe you want a different color other than white. Maybe I want a light, like violet color here. Then you can change the transparency. Okay. So that's how you can change the background. And you can also change the background and the colors of these individual visualizations here. If I go to my paint roller, maybe I want to turn the legend on or off. Maybe I want to modify the background. Turn on a background for this, and maybe I want it white, or maybe I want it yellow. That doesn't look too bad. I mean, you wouldn't want your background to interfere with the colors of the charts, but just to show you, you can add some color here, and you can manipulate titles and other things here with the paint roller. All right, so back to number crunching. Let's go ahead and create a second page for our canvas. We'll do that down here. It's just like making another Excel spreadsheet. If you're familiar with Excel, you make another canvas page down here. And we're going to call this one monthly attendance, because we want to show how many people came to these sessions over the months that we have recorded. Okay, so here we go, monthly attendance. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to need our month, and we're going to need our attendees. And this is where we're going to introduce a new topic, because I want to eventually sort this data by the MS fiscal month. Okay? So here's our canvas. Here's our data. We're going to go to this relationship tab. And I'll just make this larger so you can see that it is indeed the whole set of the data. These are our 3 data sets. And you'll see that Power BI looked at these data sets as we imported them. It says, well, you've got a month column here, and you've got a month column here. I bet those are related. And it was smart. It's right. They are related. But maybe you got a more complex set of data, and maybe Power BI didn't automatically create a relationship. So we'll go ahead and delete this, and I'll show you how to manually create. All right, so now it's gone. And we're going to go up here to our Manage Relationships button. Click that. There are no relationships yet. I'm going to make a new one, and we select Consolidated Session Data. By the way, you could have just clicked Auto Detect. It would find it again, which would defeat the purpose of this exercise, but it does have that function available. And then I'm going to click MS Fiscal. And of course, it looks at it and says, well, the only correlation here is month. And it's right. And you'll note it's a many-to-one relationship. And what that just means is that it's mentioned many times up here and one time here. This is getting a little bit advanced for this presentation, but I often go ahead and just do both for the cross-filter direction, just in case you need that in the future. And then I just click OK, and it creates a relationship. And there we have it again, okay? So that it lets you know that when you say month here, you're also talking about month here, which is going to be useful here in just a moment. So that brings us back to this monthly attendance canvas here. And what I'm going to show you then is the attendees that came to each session over the course of the months that we have. So I'm going to drag my attendees right here. And then also, I'm going to drag this month. Now, the reason why I drag this month and not this one, remember we just created that relationship. And I want to sort by this key eventually, so I'm going to drag this month over here. And we end up with a nice little chart right here. And as you can see, I can drag the corners around and make it larger. I can also, if I want to, click this button here, and that brings us to a full canvas view. So that's something that you might find useful. But I'm just going to go back to the report and drag the corners out so it's nice and large. And you'll notice that the default sort here is starting from the month where we had the most attendees, August, with 1,100, 400, down to September, where we only had 387 that month. And maybe that's how you want it, but maybe it isn't. This just happens to be the default sort. So let's go ahead and turn off the default sort. You'll do that up here. And I see I have two sort by options. My default was sort by total attendees. Let's just go sort by month. Show you what that looks like. And this is Power BI's sort by month, which is not Microsoft's fiscal month. And I'll go ahead and it's Z to A actually is how they did it. And you can do it A to Z too if you want to. And you can also just remove it. Here's how, if you want to see A to Z. There you go. And now I'm just going to remove this sort because the sort that I want actually is by the fiscal month. So I'm going to make sure I've got both of these are gray. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is hop over to my Data tab. And in my Data tab, here's my Microsoft fiscal month. A key is just an ordering column. And what I'm going to do is click on month. I'm going to go up to modeling. And I'm going to sort by column. And I'm going to sort the month by the key. That simple step then has us sorted by the key: July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, which is exactly what we wanted, okay? So that is our next visualization for monthly attendance. Let's make a few more. Let's go on then to maybe session attendance. I'll just right-click and name this page Session Attendance. And then maybe I go, here's the name of the session, and then here's the attendees. So you're really getting an idea as to how this works here. And right now, this decided that a table was the best way to do this, but maybe I would like, you know, a row chart like this, or maybe I want a column chart. Now, looking at this, I mean, there's a lot of different criteria you can take into consideration when deciding the best chart for your data. And in this case, I'm going to make the decision that I think a row chart is better. And why? Because, well, I don't really like reading it at a diagonal. I like reading left to right. So here we go. So you know, that's just a decision that I made here for my session attendance. I'm going to move now into a demographics tab. So I'm going to right-click, rename demographics, and I'm going to pull in my demographic information. All right, so I'm going to pull in my location. Remember, that's the place that the person came from, and then the names. That's all I needed, just location and names. I deleted all that other stuff. Now, I need to modify this again, and as you usually do when you make a visualization, oftentimes, I would say much more often than not, the default that Power BI gives you is not what you want. You need to tweak it, and you use all these powerful tools that they give you for tweaking. And I'm actually going to, instead of listing the names. I'm simply going to count the names. I don't even care about what the names are. I just need to know how many people came. So now I've got something I can kind of work with. I've got a location name, and as you can see, these are the names of different buildings and cities. And then I've got a count of people. How do I want to represent this? Well, I could simply just use this chart, but that's a lot of scrolling. How about a donut chart? I think that's great. We can make this larger. Okay, so now I see these locations. How many people came from each one? This is really valuable information for me. And this is just a small sampling of the demographics that we got. You could go for a larger sample and get more accurate. That is how the demographics work. If you wanted to make this like a pie chart, you could do that too. So there's, here's a tree map. If you want to see a tree map. But I think probably the donut chart's the best for this. The next thing I want to show you before showing you how to publish this data is I want to show you the map feature. So I'm going to actually go back to my Home tab and get some more data. So I'll go to Get Data. I'm going to go to Excel, and I'm just going to pull in this AdventureWorks database. This is a fake database of a fake athletic wear company that sells fake products all over the world, and we've got a customer name, region, country, etc. And I'm just going to do a little bit of visualization with this data. I'm just going to load it in. I already knew it was good, and we'll make another Canvas page, and we'll call this Maps. I want to show you the two of the different kinds of maps you can use in Power BI. I'm going to go up here to my AdventureWorks data, and I will simply pull in the country and the sales amount. And that will associate on this map, and this goes out and talks to Big Maps. You have to be online to use this feature because we're talking to Big Maps. And I see that in North America, we sold more than in Canada. In Australia, we sold lots and lots of athletic goods to Australia here. You can also, if you want, you can do a filled map. And let me just show you that quick. That fills the region that you have in the data. The darker it is, the higher. Instead of a bigger circle, the darker the color, the larger the number. So those are two of the different maps you can have. So that is some really basic visualization construction in Power BI. Should get you well on your way to getting started using it. Let's talk next about how to share this data, how to publish it. And we'll start by, on our Home tab here, we're going to go up to this Publish button. Okay, and I'm going to click. Do you want to save your changes? Now this saves as that PBIX report that I talked about during the deck, because they do want you to save it in a file format before actually going forward. I'll just go ahead and save this in my OneDrive here, and we'll just call it a test demo, and I'll just call it test demo. How's that? Okay, so we'll go save. And then you're given the option to save it in your workspace, or if you're using Office 365 groups, you can save it in an Office 365 group workspace. For this demo, I'm simply going to save it in my workspace. Select. And it is now publishing my report. Success. Okay, so let's go ahead and open it up. I always recommend clicking this. You don't have to, but it's nice to go take a look at what it looks like. And as you can see, it looks exactly like it did in the Power BI desktop. In fact, you get some of your editing function right here. You can go actually edit this report now using the web interface if you want to. What we're going to talk about is making a dashboard and sharing that dashboard with your coworkers or your customers or your business partners. Now remember, we had our data sets, then we built a report, and then the last step is a dashboard. So let's take this monthly attendance visualization, and let's go up here to our pin visual, and we'll click it here. And it asks you, do you want to pin this to an existing dashboard or to a new dashboard? We're actually going to select a new dashboard, and I'll just call this the test dashboard. And I demo a lot, so I've probably got a lot of things called test dashboard, excuse me, so I'll just call it test dashboard 133. How about that? And we'll go pin, and then I can go to the dashboard and see what it looks like. And right now it's basic. You see I've got my one visualization here. Let's put some more stuff on there. Let's go back to my recent test demo here and grab some more visualizations to put up on that dashboard. Maybe we want to put this map up there. Let's go to the pin, and we want to pin it to our test dashboard 133 here. All right, cool. And then maybe also, just to demonstrate a slightly different function here, I'll just close that. Instead of pinning a particular visualization like this or this, you can actually pin an entire live Canvas page to your dashboard. Let's do that now. I'll click pin. Once again, we want it on our test dashboard 133. I'm going to go ahead and pin live, and then let's go to the dashboard and see what it looks like. So I've decided that I want these 3 visualizations on my dashboard. Now, just because I made a dashboard using visualizations from only one report, that doesn't mean you have to. You can actually pin visualizations from other reports, like go grab another report you've been working on here, pin it onto the dashboard. It works just fine. So I've got my dashboard. My business decision maker needs to see this information here. You know, I can move this stuff around if I want to. Oops, I was moving the map, but I can move the visualization here. I can make these larger or smaller. I just made it smaller, and you'll see that there are predefined sizes now. You don't quite have the freedom you did. And this, I mean, this looks bad, right? So you got to pick something that looks good. This looks good. And ideally, these are best viewed on large screens here. You don't have to scroll quite as much. But I've got my dashboard. I have my business decision maker is going to be happy with this data, so I need to go share this data with that person. So what I do is I click on the share button, and right here, you're going to type the email addresses, or if you have this functionality in your organization, simply the names of the people you want to share it with right here. We'll go ahead and include a message. You probably want to do this like, hey, friend, I am sharing this data on a dashboard with you. And then down here you have your crucial options. Do you want the people you're sharing with to also be able to share the data? That's big, right? I mean, how many people do you want seeing this? Take that into consideration before checking this. And also, I think it's just a courtesy. You want to send an email to the people you're sharing with. So you'll enter an email address here. Go ahead and click share. You can go right here to see, you know, who has access to this. And you'll see a list then of the people who have access. And that is sharing. And that is the demo for the Power BI desktop and the PowerBI.com interface. We're at the end of today's demonstration. I hope this training has been valuable to you. You can visit Microsoft.com/IT-showcase/productivity to view additional live webinars and productivity training on Microsoft products and services. Thank you for joining me.